Story disclaimer. This story is a work of fiction and is intended for entertainment purposes only. The content includes dark themes, horror elements, and fictional depictions of rituals and sacrifices that are purely imaginative and not reflective of any real-life practices or beliefs. Viewer discretion is advised. This video is not suitable for younger audiences, and parental guidance is recommended. The story does not endorse or promote any harmful behavior, violence, or dangerous activities. Please note that all characters, events, and settings are entirely fictional and created for the purpose of storytelling. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events, is purely coincidental. In a city gripped by darkness, Kofi and Amma are about to face a journey of resilience and hope. From the sinister grip of a powerful cult to the shadows of a hidden organization known as the Consortium, this last episode will take you on a pulse-pounding ride. They'll form alliances, outmaneuver enemies, and attempt daring missions with stakes that rise higher and higher. But just when they think victory is in sight, new threats emerge, testing their courage and shattering their sense of safety. Will Kofi and Amma outwit the dark forces plotting against them, or will they become victims of a power too great to comprehend? Stay with them until the end of this unforgettable journey to discover how the story of survival, sacrifice, and triumph unfolds. Kofi and Amma spent the following days hidden in the labyrinthine alleys of Kisa, connecting with the underground network of people who had suffered at the hands of the cult. Each person had a story. Some had lost family members, others had seen their lives destroyed by the cult's ruthless pursuit of power. The cult's influence ran deep, but so did the anger and desire for justice among the people. One night, a mysterious contact reached out to them, a woman named Zara, known in the underground as the Oracle. She was a tech genius, rumored to have hacked some of the most secure systems in the world. Kofi and Amma met her in a dimly lit basement filled with computer screens, wires, and strange gadgets. Zara was as enigmatic as her reputation suggested, her eyes sharp and calculating. "I've been watching you," Zara said without preamble, her fingers tapping rapidly on a keyboard. "You've done well, but you're not going to take them down with fists and fire alone." Kofi leaned in, intrigued. "What do you have in mind?" Zara smirked, pulling up a map of Kisa on one of her screens. "The cult's stronghold isn't just physical. It's digital. They control the flow of money, information, and resources through encrypted networks. I can get you in. But you need to be prepared for what you'll find." Amma frowned. "What do you mean?" Zara's expression turned serious. "The cult has a secret weapon, a program that manipulates financial markets, political data, and even the media. It's how they stay ahead, how they know every move before it's made. We take that down, and they lose everything." Kofi and Amma exchanged a glance. This was bigger than they had imagined. If they could cripple the cult's digital empire, they could level the playing field. But it was also riskier than anything they had done so far. "We are in," Kofi said, determination burning in his eyes. "Tell us what to do." The plan was set in motion the next day. Kofi, Amma, and a small team of the underground fighters, guided by Zara's expertise, geared up for a high-stakes mission to infiltrate the cult's primary server hub, a heavily guarded building on the outskirts of Kisa, disguised as an innocuous corporate office. As they approached the building under the cover of night, Kofi felt the weight of the mission settle on his shoulders. They had come so far, but this was the crux. One misstep, and it would all be over. Amma, ever calm under pressure, laid out the final details. "We enter through the service entrance, disable the security systems, and get to the server room. Zara will guide us remotely, but we have to be quick." Kofi nodded, feeling the adrenaline surge. They moved with precision, bypassing guards and cameras with Zara's guidance in their earpieces. Kofi's heart pounded as they reached the server room, the faint hum of machines filling the air. It was the brain of the cult's operations, a room filled with blinking lights and towering servers that held their secrets. As Omar set up the hacking device Zara had given them, Kofi kept watch. His nerves were on edge, every sound amplified in the tense silence. Minutes felt like hours, but finally, Omar gave him a nod. They were in. Kofi watched the screen as lines of code scrolled rapidly. Zara's voice crackled through the earpiece. Good job. Now, upload the virus. This will cripple their entire network. Just as Omar hit the final command, the door to the server room burst open. Cult enforcers flooded in, sticks raised. Kofi and Omar were outnumbered and cornered. It was a trap, but Kofi wasn't going down without a fight. He grabbed the nearest object, a heavy server blade, and swung it at the first enforcer, buying Omar just enough time to upload the virus. Run! Kofi shouted as the enforcer swarmed. Omar bolted, and Kofi followed, dodging sticks and fighting off attackers as they made their desperate escape. They burst out of the building, sprinting into the night with enforcers hot on their heels. Kofi's lungs burned, but the thrill of their success fueled him. They had done it. The cult's digital empire was crumbling, and the enforcers' anger only confirmed it. Kofi and Omar narrowly escaped, slipping into the shadows of Kisa. They found refuge in a safe house provided by Zara's network, catching their breath and nursing their wounds. They had struck a critical blow, but they knew the cult would retaliate harder than ever. Omar looked at Kofi, her expression fierce despite the cuts and bruises. We are not done yet. Kofi nodded. Not even close. The cult moved quickly to reclaim their power. Within hours, news outlets reported on a supposed terrorist attack on a corporate office, framing Kofi and Omar as dangerous fugitives. Their faces were plastered all over the media, twisting the narrative to make them public enemies. Kofi slammed his fist against the wall of the safe house, frustration and anger boiling over. They are turning everyone against us. Omar paced, her mind racing. They are desperate. We've hit them where it hurts, but now they're trying to isolate us, make us look like the villains. Zara contacted them via a secure line, her tone urgent. You need to disappear, completely. The cult has activated every resource to hunt you down. They are calling in favors from high places. You're not safe anywhere in Kisa. Kofi clenched his fists. We can't just hide. We need to finish this. Omar placed a hand on his shoulder. We need to be smart. They are baiting us, trying to lure us into the open. Kofi took a deep breath, calming his racing thoughts. Then we make them think they've won. Omar raised an eyebrow. What are you thinking? Kofi's eyes lit up with a plan. We let them capture us. Omar started to protest, but Kofi continued. We let them think they've won. But we control the narrative. We have Zara leak the real story, the truth about the cult, their corruption, everything. We let the world see who they really are. Omar considered his words, her expression shifting from doubt to determination. It's risky. But it could work. Kofi nodded. It's the only way to turn this around. We need the world on our side. The next day, they set their plan into motion. Zara began releasing information, exposing the cult's leaders, their illegal operations, and their manipulation of the city's infrastructure. The public reaction was immediate and explosive. Protests erupted, and the people of Kisa began to see the cult for what it truly was. Kofi and Omar made their way to a public square, knowing the cult would be watching. They stood defiantly, side by side, as the enforcers closed in. This was their stand, their final act of defiance. As they were taken into custody, Kofi and Omar exchanged a knowing look. The cult might have them in chains, but the truth was out. The city was waking up, and the cult's days were numbered. Kofi's voice echoed in his mind as they were driven away. This isn't the end. It's just the beginning. Kofi and Amma were taken to a secret location far from the prying eyes of the public. The cult had lost control of the narrative, but they weren't about to let Kofi and Amma go without a fight. The enforcers marched them into a dark, damp underground chamber where the cult's leaders awaited, masked figures sitting in judgment. The cult's leader, the man in the black suit who had first lured Kofi into this dark world, presided over the makeshift court. His voice was cold and commanding as he addressed the gathering. "You have betrayed us, Kofi. You and your little friend here have become a thorn in our side. But you will pay for your defiance." Kofi stood tall, unflinching. "The world knows what you are. You can't hide anymore." The leader smirked, unfazed by Kofi's defiance. "We control more than you think. The public is fickle. They believe what they are told. And soon, they'll believe you're nothing but traitors." Amma spat on the ground, glaring at the cult leader. "You think you can silence us? There are more of us than you know. People are waking up." The leader ignored her, motioning to his enforcers. "Begin the trial." The mock trial was a sham from the start. They brought in false witnesses, fabricated evidence, then twisted the facts to paint Kofi and Amma as enemies of the state. The cult was determined to break their spirits, to make them regret ever challenging their authority. But Kofi and Amma remained steadfast, knowing that every minute they resisted was a victory in itself. Finally, the cult leader delivered his verdict. "Guilty of treason, guilty of espionage, guilty of disrupting the order. You will be punished as an example to all who dare defy us." Kofi met the leader's gaze, his eyes burning with resolve. "You can punish us, but you can't stop what's coming. Your time is up." The leader's mask betrayed no emotion, but Kofi could sense the unease rippling through the room. The cult was losing control, and they knew it. They were like a cornered animal, dangerous and desperate. Kofi and Amma were thrown into a cold, windowless cell deep beneath the earth. Heavy chains bound their wrists, and a single dim bulb flickered above, casting long shadows on the stone walls. The guards posted outside their cell were vigilant, but Kofi noticed they were not as disciplined as the enforcers he had fought before. They were new recruits, nervous, jittery. Kofi leaned close to Amma, whispering, "We have one shot at this." Amma nodded, her face hardened with determination. "What's the plan?" Kofi glanced at the guards, noting their unease. "We create a diversion. Make them think we're losing it. Then, when they come in, we strike." Amma grinned. "I like it." They started by banging on the cell walls, shouting incoherently, and rattling their chains. The guards, clearly inexperienced, grew visibly anxious. One of them finally cracked, opening the cell door to subdue the noise. Kofi and Amma seized the moment. With swift, coordinated movements, they overpowered the guards, knocking them unconscious. Kofi grabbed a set of keys from one of the guards and freed them from their chains. "We need to move fast," Amma urged, grabbing a button from the guard's belt. They navigated the maze of corridors, avoiding the roving guards as best they could. Each turn brought them closer to freedom but also deeper into danger. The sound of footsteps echoed behind them, then Kofi's heart raced as they ducked into a narrow passageway, holding their breath as guards passed by. After what felt like hours, they found an emergency exit leading to the surface. The cool night air hit them like a wave, a stark contrast to the oppressive heat of their underground cell. They ran, fueled by adrenaline and the knowledge that the cult would soon realize they were gone. Zara had been monitoring the situation and quickly directed them to a safe location, a hidden bunker on the outskirts of Kisa. The bunker was stocked with supplies, then communication equipment. It was clear Zara had anticipated their capture and had prepared for this very scenario. Kofi collapsed onto a chair, exhausted but triumphant. "We are not done yet, Amma." We need to keep pushing. We have to bring them all down. Amma nodded, her eyes blazing with resolve. We will. For everyone they've hurt. Kofi clenched his fists, his mind already racing with plans. They had escaped the cult's grasp, but the war was far from over. The cult had shown its hand, and now Kofi and Amma would make their move. With Zara's help, Kofi and Amma began rallying the underground network, calling on every ally they had made. They organized protests, hacked into public broadcasts, and exposed more of the cult's sinister dealings. The people of Kisa were waking up, and the city was on the brink of revolt. The cult, feeling the pressure, unleashed a wave of terror. Enforcers roamed the streets, cracking down on dissent with brutal force. Public executions of alleged traitors were broadcasted to sow fear. The city was in chaos, and the cult's grip tightened. Kofi, Amma, and their growing army of rebels launched a series of strategic strikes on cult assets. They sabotaged operations, intercepted communications, and freed imprisoned dissidents. The cult responded with escalating violence, but every act of repression only fueled the fire of resistance. Kofi stood on a rooftop overlooking the city, the glow of fires and the sound of distant clashes filling the air. He knew the cult was desperate, and desperation made them dangerous. Amma joined him, her expression grim but determined. They are losing control. Kofi nodded. But we need to hit them where it hurts. We take out the leader, and the rest will crumble. Amma looked at him, her resolve unwavering. Then let's end this. With Zara's guidance, they pinpointed the cult leader's location, a heavily guarded compound at the heart of Kisa. It was a fortress, surrounded by high walls and patrolled by enforcers. But Kofi and Amma were undeterred. They had come too far to turn back now. As they prepared for the final assault, Kofi addressed the assembled rebels. This is it. We take down the leader, and we free this city. No more fear. No more lies. We fight for Kisa. The crowd roared in agreement, and Kofi felt a surge of hope. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they had something the cult didn't, the will of the people. They launched the assault under the cover of darkness, breaching the compound's defenses with a combination of strategy and sheer determination. Kofi and Amma fought side by side, cutting through the enforcers with ruthless efficiency. The cult's stronghold was crumbling, and Kofi could feel victory within reach. As they stormed the inner sanctum, Kofi came face to face with the cult leader. The man's cold eyes met Kofi's, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. This was the man who had brought so much suffering, who had tried to break him. Kofi raised his stick, but the leader spoke, his voice eerily calm. You think using the stick me will change anything? The cult is bigger than one man. Cut off one of us, and another will rise. Kofi hesitated, his resolve wavering. Was the leader right? Could they truly end the cult? Amma stepped forward, her voice cutting through the tension. No. We end you, and we end the fear. That's how we win. Kofi steadied his aim, his heart pounding. He threw the stick, and the cult leader fell. It was over. The people of Kisa were free. As the sun rose over the city, Kofi and Amma stood among the rebels, the weight of their victory sinking in. They had fought for the city, for the people, and for the future. The cult was shattered, and Kisa could finally begin to heal. But Kofi knew the fight wasn't truly over. There were still remnants of the cult out there, waiting for their chance to rise again. And he would be ready. The dawn of a new era in Kisa brought hope and relief, but for Kofi, the victory was bittersweet. As the city began to rebuild, he found himself haunted by the shadows of his past. The cult's reach had extended deep into his own life, and he struggled to reconcile with the people he had hurt or betrayed, including his own family. Kofi's father, once a respected figure in the community, had been forced into hiding when the cult's influence became too strong. Kofi's mother had fallen ill under the strain of the cult's threats. Now, Kofi faced the daunting task of mending broken relationships and helping his family recover. One evening, Kofi visited his childhood home, now a shell of its former self. The once vibrant house was now shrouded in silence. Kofi's mother, frail and weakened, lay in a small room. The sight of her brought tears to his eyes. "Mother," he whispered, sitting by her side. "I'm so sorry for everything." His mother looked at him with a mix of sadness and pride. "You fought for what's right. That's all that matters now. But you must find a way to heal the wounds you've caused." Kofi's heart ached as he looked around the house. The memories of his childhood clashed with the reality of the present. He knew he needed to make amends, but the weight of his actions pressed heavily on him. Later that night, Kofi was awakened by a mysterious phone call. The voice on the other end was familiar but distorted. "Kofi, your fight is not over. The cult's remnants are regrouping. They are planning something big. You need to be ready." Before Kofi could respond, the call ended. He was left with a gnawing sense of dread. The victory felt incomplete, and he knew he couldn't rest until he was sure the cult was truly finished. As Kofi began to unravel the cryptic message, a wave of unsettling news began to surface. Reports of strange ritualistic activities and mysterious disappearances began circulating through Kisa. It was clear that the cult's remnants were not only active but also planning something catastrophic. Kofi and Omar resumed their fight, digging deeper into the city's underbelly. They uncovered a network of hidden bases and secret meetings where the cult's remnants were plotting their revenge. The city was bracing for another wave of terror. One night, while investigating a lead, Kofi and Omar stumbled upon a secret gathering in an abandoned warehouse. The cultists, now more radical and desperate, were performing a dark ritual, summoning forces they believed would bring them back to power. The air was thick with incense and murmurs of incantations. Kofi's heart raced as he realized the gravity of the situation. If the ritual succeeded, the cult could regain its former strength and unleash chaos upon Kisa. They needed to stop it. But before they could intervene, a masked figure emerged from the shadows. The figure was clad in black robes, their face hidden behind a mask, then their presence radiated an ominous aura. "Do you think you can thwart us so easily?" The masked figure's voice was cold and menacing. "You may have defeated our leader, but we have our own plans. This ritual is just the beginning." Kofi and Ama exchanged glances. They had underestimated the cult's resilience. They needed to act quickly. Kofi and Ama raced to disrupt the ritual, but the cultists were already deep into their dark incantations. The warehouse was alive with eerie lights and chanting, and the atmosphere was heavy with malevolent energy. As Kofi and Ama fought their way through the throng of cultists, they encountered unexpected resistance. The cultists had been reinforced by new, seemingly invincible enforcers, warriors shrouded in dark energy, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. The battle was fierce and chaotic. Kofi and Omar struggled against the overwhelming numbers and dark magic at play. Just as they seemed to gain the upper hand, the masked figure revealed a hidden weapon, a relic of immense power that amplified the cult's dark rituals. The relic pulsed with dark energy, and the ritual intensified. The warehouse's walls seemed to close in, and the air was charged with a suffocating darkness. Kofi felt his strength waning as the dark magic began to drain him. Ama, fighting beside him, shouted above the din, "We need to destroy the relic. It's the source of their power." Kofi nodded, summoning his last reserves of strength. They fought their way to the relic, but the masked figure stood in their path, wielding dark magic to protect it. In a desperate move, Kofi and Ama combined their efforts, using every ounce of their remaining strength to overpower the masked figure. With a final, powerful blow, they shattered the relic, causing a blinding explosion of dark energy. The ritual collapsed, and the warehouse was thrown into chaos. The cultists fled, their plans in ruins. The dark energy dissipated, and the once ominous atmosphere gave way to a fragile silence. Exhausted but victorious, Kofi and Amma returned to their safe house, only to find Zara missing. The room was ransacked, and a chilling note lay on the table. It was from the masked figure, taunting them with the promise of more suffering to come. The note read, "You may have won today, but this is only the beginning. Zara is ours now, and we will make you suffer for what you've done. The true test is yet to come." Kofi's heart sank. Zara had been a crucial ally, and her disappearance was a blow to their cause. They needed to act fast to rescue her and put an end to the cult's plans once and for all. Amma, her face filled with resolve, said, "We can't let them get away with this. We need to find Zara and put an end to the cult's reign of terror." They quickly regrouped with their allies and began searching for any leads on Zara's whereabouts. The search was grueling, and every step seemed to lead them into deeper danger. The cult had become more cunning and ruthless, and their operations were more secretive than ever. As Kofi and Amma dug deeper, they discovered that Zara's kidnapping was part of a larger scheme. The cult planned to use her to manipulate public opinion and discredit Kofi and his allies. The stakes were higher than ever. The search for Zara led them to an abandoned mansion on the outskirts of Kisa. It was heavily guarded, and the air was thick with a sense of impending doom. Kofi and Amma knew they were walking into a trap, but they had no choice but to proceed. The mansion loomed before them, its dark windows and crumbling facade exuding an aura of malevolence. Kofi and Amma approached cautiously, their senses on high alert. The cult had set a trap, but they were determined to rescue Zara and end the cult's reign of terror. Inside the mansion, the cultists were preparing for a final, desperate ritual. Zara was bound and unconscious, surrounded by ominous symbols and dark artifacts. The masked figure stood at the center, preparing to invoke an ancient and powerful spell. Kofi and Amma fought their way through the mansion, facing fierce resistance from the cult's remaining enforcers. Each room was filled with dark magic and traps designed to weaken them. The mansion was a labyrinth of terror, and every step brought them closer to the heart of the cult's plan. As they reached the central chamber, the masked figure began the final incantation. The room was filled with a pulsating energy, and the air was charged with an oppressive darkness. Zara's unconscious form was positioned at the center of a ritualistic circle, and the cultists chanted in unison. Kofi and Amma burst into the chamber, determined to stop the ritual. The masked figure's eyes gleamed with dark satisfaction as he saw them. "You're too late. The ritual will be completed, and the power we'll unleash will be beyond your imagination." Amma, her eyes blazing with fury, shouted, "We won't let you win." A fierce battle ensued. Kofi and Amma fought with everything they had, battling the cultists and the masked figure. The dark magic clashed with their own determination, creating a storm of chaotic energy. The ritual's energy surged, and the room was engulfed in a blinding light. Kofi and Amma, their strength waning, struggled to keep the masked figure at bay. With a final, desperate effort, Kofi grabbed the ritual's focus on a dark crystal pulsating with malevolent energy. He shattered it, causing the ritual's energy to explode in a brilliant flash of light. The mansion shook, and the cultists scattered in terror. The masked figure was consumed by the blast, his screams echoing through the air. Zara was freed from her bonds, and the dark energy dissipated. Kofi and Amma, battered and exhausted, rushed to Zara's side. She slowly regained consciousness, her eyes filled with gratitude and relief. "We did it," Kofi said, his voice hoarse. "It's over." Zara looked at them with a mixture of awe and relief. "You've saved me. And you've brought an end to the cult's reign of terror." The sun began to rise over Kisa, casting a new light on the city. The cult's influence was shattered, and the city could finally begin to heal. With the cult defeated, Kofi and his allies began the task of rebuilding Kisa. The city was scarred, but there was a sense of hope and renewal. The people were free from the cult's oppressive grip, and a new era was beginning. Kofi, Amma, and Zara worked tirelessly to help the city recover. They focused on restoring order, providing aid to those affected by the cult's actions, and rebuilding the damaged infrastructure. The people of Kisa rallied together, united in their determination to create a better future. As the city began to heal, Kofi took time to reflect on the journey he had undergone. The fight against the cult had changed him in profound ways. He had faced his own demons, confronted the darkness within, and emerged stronger. Amma and Zara were by his side, their friendship and loyalty a source of strength. Together, they continued to work towards a brighter future for Kisa. They knew that their fight was not just about defeating a single enemy, but about creating a lasting change. One evening, as Kofi stood on a rooftop overlooking the city, he felt a sense of peace. The scars of the past were still there, but they were a reminder of the strength and resilience that had carried them through the darkest times. Amma joined him, her eyes filled with hope. "We've done it. We've made a difference." Kofi nodded, a smile on his face. "We have. And we'll continue to fight for what's right." As the city lights twinkled below, Kofi and Amma looked forward to the future. The legacy of their struggle would endure, and the lessons they had learned would guide them as they worked to build a better world. The shadows of the past had been confronted, and a new dawn was on the horizon. Kisa was a city reborn, and its future was filled with promise and possibility. Just as Kisa began to recover from the turmoil, new shadows began to emerge. Whispers of a powerful and secretive organization began to circulate, hinting at a new threat that could jeopardize the fragile peace they had fought so hard to achieve. Kofi and Amma received cryptic messages from an anonymous source, warning them of a looming danger. The messages spoke of a shadowy group with ambitions that reached beyond Kisa, hinting at plans that could destabilize not just the city but the entire region. Determined to uncover the truth, Kofi and Amma set out to investigate. Their search led them to a series of hidden locations and secret meetings, each revealing a new layer of intrigue and danger. The new organization, known only as the Consortium, was a network of powerful individuals with vast resources and a hidden agenda. The Consortium's plans were shrouded in secrecy, but Kofi and Amma began to piece together a disturbing picture. They discovered that the Consortium was not only intent on consolidating power but also on exploiting ancient, forbidden knowledge to achieve their goals. The search for answers took them to remote and dangerous locations where they encountered enigmatic figures and faced numerous obstacles. The Consortium was a formidable adversary, and their influence extended into the highest echelons of society. Kofi and Amma's investigation revealed that the Consortium was planning a massive operation that could unleash chaos on a global scale. Their ultimate goal was to seize control of powerful artifacts and use them to manipulate world events to their advantage. The clues pointed to an impending event where the Consortium would unveil their plans. Kofi and Amma, racing against time, infiltrated the event, the grand ceremony held in a luxurious but heavily guarded venue. The ceremony was a cover for the true purpose, a ritual that would give the Consortium unprecedented power. As they made their way through the event, Kofi and Amma uncovered a hidden chamber where the ritual was set to take place. The chamber was filled with ancient symbols and artifacts, and the atmosphere was charged with an eerie energy. The Consortium's leaders, clad in elaborate robes and masks, prepared for the ritual. Kofi and Amma knew they had to act quickly to prevent the ritual from being completed. They engaged in a tense and dangerous confrontation with the Consortium's enforcers, fighting their way through the chamber. In the midst of the chaos, Kofi and Amma discovered that the Consortium's plans were more intricate and dangerous than they had imagined. The ritual involved harnessing the power of ancient forces that could have catastrophic consequences if unleashed. With a final, desperate effort, Kofi and Amma managed to disrupt the ritual and seize control of the artifacts. The Consortium's leaders were exposed and apprehended, and their plans were thwarted. With the consortium's threat neutralized, Kisa could finally breathe a sigh of relief. The city was beginning to rebuild once more, and the shadow of danger had receded. Kofi and Amma had once again proven their resilience and determination. As they looked back on their journey, Kofi and Amma reflected on the lessons they had learned and the challenges they had overcome. The fight against the cult and the consortium had been grueling, but it had strengthened their resolve and forged an unbreakable bond between them. The city of Kisa was slowly returning to normal, and its people were filled with hope for the future. Kofi and Amma continued to work towards positive change, using their experiences to guide and inspire others. The legacy of their struggle would endure, and their story would be remembered as a testament to the power of courage and perseverance. Kisa was a city reborn, and its future was filled with promise and possibility. Kofi stood on the rooftop once again, looking out over the city. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the landscape. He felt a sense of peace and fulfillment, knowing that he had made a difference. Amma joined him, her smile reflecting the hope of a new beginning. "We did it, Kofi. We made it through." Kofi nodded, his heart full of gratitude. "Yes, we did. And now, we look forward to the future." As they stood together, watching the city they had fought so hard to protect, they knew that their journey was far from over. But for now, they could enjoy the peace they had earned and look forward to a brighter future. The story of Kofi and Amma was one of courage, resilience, and hope. It was a tale of triumph over darkness and a testament to the enduring spirit of those who fight for what is right. And as the sun set over Kisa, the city looked toward a new dawn, full of possibilities and promise.